Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of conflict theory and examining how it shapes our society and the field of criminology. We'll explore key concepts like power dynamics, social inequality, and the role of legal systems, all through a sociological lens. This perspective helps us better understand the forces that influence social structures and the way justice is administered. I'm excited to take you through these important ideas and their real-world implications. Conflict theory, which was mainly developed by Karl Marx, offers a unique way of understanding society. Instead of seeing society as a peaceful or harmonious place, it views it as a competitive arena where different groups are constantly competing for limited resources. The key focus here is on ongoing power struggles and systemic inequalities, rather than cooperation or consensus. This means that the structures and relationships in society are shaped by conflicts between those who hold power and those who do not. Essentially, according to this theory, society is defined by conflict and competition over valuable resources, rather than by peace and agreement. When we talk about conflict theory, there are a few key concepts that really define how it views society. First, there's the idea of class struggle. This means society is split into groups with opposing economic interests, mainly between those who are privileged and those who aren't. Essentially, these groups are always in tension because their needs and goals clash. Next is power and dominance. The theory highlights that people in power don't just randomly hold power, they actively create and sustain systems that protect their dominant status. This leads us to social inequality, which is seen as built into the very structure of society. Certain social arrangements inherently benefit some groups while disadvantaging others. Putting it all together, conflict theory argues that social institutions don't work to create fairness across the board. Instead, they tend to serve the interests of the powerful, maintaining inequality rather than reducing it. This perspective really challenges us to see who benefits from the way society is organized. When we look at society through the lens of functionalism, we see it as a stable system made up of interconnected parts. Each part plays a specific role, contributing to overall social order and cohesion, almost like organs working together in a body. On the other hand, conflict theory offers a very different perspective. It focuses on power struggles and inequalities, suggesting that what we call social order is actually maintained through domination and coercion. From this viewpoint, laws and social norms aren't about shared values, but are tools used by powerful groups to keep their dominance. This contrast really highlights how these two theories interpret social cohesion and order in fundamentally different ways. When we look at law through the lens of conflict theory, we see that laws are not just neutral rules, but tools used by those in power to maintain their advantage. This perspective suggests that laws often serve to protect the interests of the wealthy or dominant groups in society. For example, behaviors of marginalized or less powerful groups are more likely to be criminalized, highlighting a significant imbalance. The legal system, then, functions to uphold existing inequalities by safeguarding property and privileges that benefit these dominant groups. Because of this, we observe systemic biases within the justice system itself, where penalties tend to be harsher for some groups, reflecting deeper societal power disparities rather than a fair or neutral application of justice. This critical view challenges us to think about who really benefits from the laws and legal processes in place. Conflict theory and criminology helps us understand crime by looking at the social and economic inequalities that exist in society. Rather than seeing crime simply as individual wrongdoing, it suggests that crime can be a form of resistance or a reaction to experiences of oppression and marginalization. People from disadvantaged groups might engage in criminal behavior not just out of choice, but as a way to challenge unfair conditions or to survive in a system stacked against them. This approach shifts our focus away from blaming individual character flaws and instead highlights the larger structural factors that contribute to criminal activity. This perspective is crucial for developing more effective responses to crime that address root causes rather than just symptoms. When we look at criminology through the lens of power, several important examples come to light. First, consider the differential treatment of minorities. It's well documented that minority groups often face much harsher scrutiny and receive tougher sentences compared to others. This isn't just about individual cases, but a systemic pattern that reflects broader power imbalances. On the other hand, White-collar crimes, typically committed by those in positions of power, tend to be neglected. These offenses receive less attention from law enforcement and result in lighter penalties, showing a clear disparity in how justice is applied. Overall, these examples highlight the crucial role power dynamics play in shaping who gets labeled as a criminal and how laws are enforced, underscoring the importance of examining these structures in any discussion of criminal justice. Now, let's take a closer look at some of the key scholars who have shaped conflict criminology. First, Richard Quinney made significant contributions by highlighting how laws are not neutral but actually serve the interests of the ruling classes. He helped us understand that law can be a tool for maintaining existing power structures. Next, Austin Turk focused on the power struggles involved in social control and law enforcement. He pointed out that these struggles reflect deeper conflicts within society over who gets to enforce rules and whose interests are prioritized. Lastly, Willem Bonger offered an important analysis connecting crime to economic inequality, particularly within capitalist societies. He argued that capitalism creates conditions that foster crime, especially among those who are economically disadvantaged. Each of these scholars provides a unique lens for viewing crime as a social and political issue tied to power and inequality. While this theory offers valuable insights, it's important to recognize some critiques. First, it can underestimate the role of individual responsibility and personal factors in criminal behavior. Not all actions are solely shaped by social forces. Second, critics point out that it tends to overlook the social consensus and cooperation that also play a crucial role in maintaining societies. Third, by focusing heavily on inequality and power, the theory might oversimplify the complex and varied causes of crime. These limitations highlight why it's essential to consider multiple perspectives to gain a more complete understanding of crime and society. Conflict theory gives us important insight into how power dynamics and inequality shape our laws and the criminal justice system. It shows us that there are systemic biases at play, affecting not only how crimes are defined but also how enforcement occurs. By understanding these underlying issues, we can see why social justice reforms are so crucial to creating a fairer system. However, this is just the beginning. Ongoing research is essential to fully explore these biases and work toward more equitable legal responses. Overall, conflict theory challenges us to critically examine the structural factors that influence crime and justice in society.